Welcome to BizTech's SME Show. Our guest for today is Panupong Tejaphaibul. He's the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Ticketmelon. Ticketmelon is the premier event technology solutions company for event goers and organizers throughout Southeast Asia. They come out of Thailand. It's a comprehensive platform that integrates cutting-edge ticketing solutions, innovative digital in-event solutions, and live streaming services to cater to the needs of diverse event formulas and audiences. Now, to tell us more, welcome to the show, Panupong.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
Now, Pat, can you briefly share an overview of Ticketmelon and its history?
Sure. So I guess to give us a brief overview of what we do, largely we're an event technology company. So we do three core product and services. We do ticketing. We do in-event technology for events. So for instance, you can do cashless payment systems inside events, collect data for trade shows, or do gamifications for product launches. And the third thing we do is streaming services for events. So these are three core product and services, and we ultimately see ourselves as an event technology company. As a brief history, we started out doing just ticketing, hence the name Ticketmelon. But we always saw ourselves as a technology company that could innovate beyond just ticketing needs of our customers, which are event organizers. And hence we moved into an event technology as we saw pain points in there, and also adding new revenue streams through providing streaming services for events who want to do hybrid events or virtual events.
Now, so you started in 2015. You now have about, I think, 2,000 events that you run across the region. What are some of the key milestones that you really have gone through as an entrepreneur and as an organization?
Right. Well, yeah, we did start in 2015. We were kind of your typical startup. We were funded when we were in fourth year of college. So while we were still studying, we were funded. And we've been doing it ever since.
And so who funded you really at such an early stage?
So actually it was a family fund, a Singaporean family fund. They're Thai Indian, but they're entities from Singapore. So the son of the fund owner happened to be a friend of mine in high school. And that's how I got to know them. They've been our angel investor, and we had a few other really notable angel investors who joined the round when we were pre-revenue, which is a slide. And they've been supporting us ever since. And it's now, I think, almost the 7th, 8th year of our company now. And we've been pretty much in terms of our CAGR, we've been doubling our revenues for 7 years straight, despite COVID. Also, in terms of our gross profits, we've been doubling ever since. Today,
we're a profitable business.
We are profitable as well, which is an important milestone, especially for a startup. Yeah. Today we process over 1 billion baht in terms of GMV through our system. We're now the second largest ticketing company in Thailand. We operate in 7 countries in Southeast Asia. So we have events across Southeast Asia. We have 4 offices across Southeast Asia. And we're very humbled to work with one of the biggest promoters, festivals, and events throughout Southeast Asia, such as AEG, TEG, VG Corp. We do, for instance, Wonderfruit, which is one of the largest festivals in Southeast Asia, Transmission, Rolling Loud, which we did recently with Cardi B, Chris Brown, Travis Scott, Together Festival Sensation, Good Vibes Festival. I mean, the list kind of goes on, but these are really kind of the national scale events and festivals that they host annually in each of these different countries.
So which are you mentioned 4 countries that you are in besides Thailand and Southeast Asia with boots on the ground. You said you have offices there. Which are these countries?
Yeah, so we have Thailand, Singapore, Philippines, and Malaysia at the moment. We'll be opening more over time. But right now we use our Thai office to service those of the countries where we don't have boots on the ground.
Okay, and give us a sense of where you see what's the market size across Southeast Asia, and where do you see the opportunities?
Right, so in terms of the market size, it really depends on which part of our product services that we're dealing with, right? I think for in-event and streaming services, there's really no white paper around this, especially in Southeast Asia, because it's relatively new. But for ticketing within Southeast Asia, the numbers kind of vary depending on which white paper. As far as we're concerned, for instance, specifically in the concert space, we think the addressable market for GMV is at least over 3 billion baht per year in terms of the concert space. But seminars and sports is a different number as well. But the overall view that we see in terms of Southeast Asia is the event technology penetration, with the exception of Singapore, is less than 10%. So the adoption of these new technology that we're providing is still very low. The more mature markets like in North America or Europe, where the event technology penetration is over 30%. In this region, Southeast Asia, we see still that there's a large gap that we hope to be able to fill over time.
Okay, but one of the things is during the pandemic, companies like you that were providing ticketing and in-streaming and streaming services technologies just boomed globally. So you have the likes of everything from the likes of Hopin, you've got some Indian companies like Hubilo, who just literally grew overnight and grew globally overnight. How was that period of time for you, and how do you compete with these more global brand names?
Right. So actually, we only started streaming services out of the necessity during COVID. So while they were booming, we were really struggling. We were the complete opposite because we were only providing solutions to physical events, which is ticketing and in-event technology. And we faced the most toughest times since starting the company, no doubt. I mean, for 2 years straight, we were really just in survival mode. I mean, I can go very long in terms of what we had to do. We managed to survive without having to raise funds. So you could have imagined that we had to really make tough decisions. But in part of that, we did launch our streaming services, which did help, did add some revenues, at least towards the end of the pandemic, as a lot of our customers were figuring out how to use this because you have to understand in Southeast Asia, streaming virtual events or hybrid events was not as widely adopted as in more mature markets, which is where Hopin, most of their growth is, right? North America and Europe, where most of their growth numbers are coming from. But in Southeast Asia, a lot of our customers had to learn how to adopt these and find the right format. So in terms of seeing ourselves on a global level compared to like Hopin, I think Hopin is much more focused in the streaming services, which is their bread and butter. We see ourselves across all three product and services. Our bread and butter today is more of the physical event, which is on in-event and ticketing. But streaming, as the Southeast Asian markets are learning to adopt that, they're incorporating more and more of that into their event offerings.
Okay, yeah. So let me then take a 2023 snapshot. Southeast Asia, everyone is reconnecting via physical events.
Yes.
Popularity of even online events has dropped dramatically.
Yes.
At best, a lot of people are having hybrid events just to cater for the markets where people cannot travel. But the primary focus now across Southeast Asia is really in-person events. Yes. How have you adapted to this, and has this worked in your favor?
So it actually has worked tremendously in our favor. I mean, once COVID ended, which as far as we're concerned was around May of 2022, we hit record high numbers, unprecedented. I mean, we grew double of what we were growing before COVID-19. So compared to 2019, it was double our numbers. And so it was really unprecedented record levels of growth. We understand there's the what was called a revenge industry, like events. But even coming out of that, even today, we're still experiencing all-time growth and numbers in every level. In terms of regionally as well, unfortunately, because a lot of the local players, many of the players in our space did not survive COVID, we did experience a big influx of customers regionally moving into our platform. Coming out of the pandemic, I think we've been growing very quickly.
Okay, so who do you now see as your primary competitors in the region? Because you're no longer a Thai company, you are very much a regional player now, and they are strong regional players.
I think how we see is there's really no dominant regional player per se. The local players, there are some really, really good players locally within each country, and their way of providing their product and services has its own flavor. The way that we've always been clear in our positioning is, we're very strong, especially for the mid to large scale events whose needs are not just the ticketing part, but also the in-event technology and perhaps also the streaming services.
Okay, and tell us a little bit. You've talked about this a couple of times. Innovative technology, streaming services. So what do you provide that's unique or immersive experiences for your customers?
Right. I think we define our customers in two ways, right? Our attendees and our event organizers. We see that we're providing a much more unique experience primarily for the event organizers. And the key thing that we provide for them is ease of operations and trust. I mean, forget about, really going leaps and bounds in terms of the new experience, just providing a really reliable system that is easy to use within Southeast Asia, perhaps with the exception of Singapore, is still, as far as we're concerned, an unmet need in the region, right? And so we're doing that by providing our UX UI to ensure that, the ease of operations is really, really there. They can really trust that not just the technology will work, but our operating team, our service team will be there for them as well. And these are still really largely unmet needs. You need to understand that if you put your shoes organizing really large scale events, as an owner of these events, you need to work with a very reliable technology provider because an event happens only once. So you better make sure that whoever you're working with, you can sleep at night knowing that they'll be able to deliver. This particular need is something that we would argue that we do notably better than even a lot of local players in that space. So I think this is where we're coming from. And on top of that, we also provide ease of operation for promoters or event organizers who are looking to expand regionally. So we cut out the mystery of them having to work with another, for instance, Thai company to provide the same needs of ticketing, innovative technology, or another Singaporean company or Malaysian company as they scale regionally. So hopefully they can work with us one-stop shop, which we're seeing a lot of our customers doing that. And that provides a consistency in terms of service experience that they expect as they grow regionally within Southeast Asia.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing. So you could be then that easy enabler for them to do events outside of their event. Are you then, is that a roadmap, or are you already doing that, providing facilitation services to help these existing customers do business in other markets?
Yes, we are already doing that. A lot of the regional promoters that we work with that I mentioned are, for instance, they're doing an event in Singapore, and they're also having that roadshow event in Thailand. And we provide the same team to work with them. So it's a lot easier for them in terms of operations. So we are already doing that. And it just allows our customers to grow much more easily regionally.
So Pat, give us a sense, where are you at today as a company? What's the size of the business? What's your top line, bottom line, headcount?
So we probably won't share our actual financials, if that's okay.
Okay.
But we actually we're quite a very lean team. I think we would argue that we have one of the best revenue for headcount ratio. We're still less than 100 people. We are growing. I think we're only about 40 people. But coming out of COVID, we've been hiring every single month. But
that is fantastic. I think,
Yes, and I think this is part of where it's very clear that we're an event technology company, because your GP per headcount is there, your revenue per headcount is there. And one of the key things I think talked about differentiation is we don't do events. We're an event technology company, and we partner with these event owners to make sure that their unmet IT needs are there, right? There are other players who provide ticketing who also do events, right? I wouldn't name them, but I think you can imagine some of these people. So the way they hire, who they invest is very, very different from our company, right? And there are very large ticketing companies in Southeast Asia as well who own events, own the concerts. Our humble position is we don't do that because, well, first of all, it's an area that we're not interested in, but we also end up competing with our customers. But by making this position that we're a very neutral event technology company, it is also reflected in the headcount and team size as you talked about earlier.
So Pat, then what are your plans for the remainder of 2023 and 2024 for the business? What can we expect from Ticketmelon?
I think over the next 3 to 5 years, because we do have a 10-year roadmap, but I think for now is we want to make sure that we do a really, really good job in Southeast Asia, and that Ticketmelon becomes the default consideration when any organizer is looking to host an event, right? We want to be there. We believe that we can provide a really, really good product and service for these hardworking customers and organizers. If we do a good job in Southeast Asia in uplifting the event technology penetration, hopefully that will allow us to expand beyond Southeast Asia over time. We look at this also on a global level, which other regions have a low event technology penetration, and we hope to be able to be there and really uplift the event technology penetration in those regions as well.
So any specific regions are you looking at outside of Southeast Asia?
Yeah, I mean, we have data across different countries. There's certain parts in Africa, there's certain parts in the Middle East, there's certain, specifically North Africa, there's certain parts in South America as well. But by then, I think the landscape might look very different. Right now, we're very focused, doing a great job in the next 3-5 years. You would perhaps ask me again in year 5, landscape would have been different. So by then, we're happy to update you how we see the market by then.
Now, then, from a vision on your side, give us a sense of how your industry and the technology around it is going to be evolving in the next 5 years. So you have a multi-year roadmap, as you outlined. What does the technology roadmap look like to cater for that?
Well, I think, what's funny is the way that we see product innovation is not so much taking a stubborn position on saying it needs to look like this or that. The thing that we hold true is the emotional need that our customer needs, which as far as we're concerned is 2 things: ease of operations to run these large events and trust. Within ease of operations, there are a set of activities that our organizers do, whether it's managing staffs on site, whether it's booking venues, you name it, right? We look at the technology standpoint of what can we do within each of these activities that, the jobs that our organizers are doing to make it easier so they spend less time achieving it and with the trust that they can sleep well so that they can spend their time doing other things. So we don't take a position on what it's going to look like. I think whatever I say now doesn't really matter. As long as we make those feelings, those emotional needs of our customers better achieved through technology, you can trust that Ticketmelon is going to be there. But I think for the basic thing that I talked about, just having a reliable ticketing system, a reliable innovative technology, that's the needs of today. The next 2-3 years, some people talk about AR, VR, some people talk about immersive experience, sure. But the over consistent theme is that emotional fulfillment. And I think that's what Ticketmelon aims to achieve.
As you've been explaining that, but I keep thinking about the California Gold Rush and how you have positioned yourselves as the picks and shovels people. You don't really care. You just want to make sure that they have good picks and shovels. So
thank you.
Events very well.
Thank you.
Now, it's been a fascinating conversation, Pat, and all the best from Ticketmelon moving forward. But before you leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
I really think that, I hope that, the impact that we've made in Thailand, we hope that we continue to make that impact across the region. We're a big, passionate group of high energy people. We've been working this since graduation and nonstop. The whole team is very young, right? So, we really hope that the impact we can make in the industry is positive, not just for Thailand, but for Asia in general, right? So, we hope that we can make that difference over the next few years.
Now, Pat, thank you very much for being on the show.
No, thank you, Brian. Thank you so much for having us here.
Now, we've been speaking to Panupong Tejaphaibul. He's the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Ticketmelon. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to BizTech's SME Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.